And now, for this week's patron shoutouts. In the House of Flame, we have Birdie Tam,
Jade Smith,
Cheryl Eisenhower,
Cynthia Johnson,
Francie Dillon,
J.S.,
Katie Grant,
Natalie Curry,
and Pokela. And then, in the House of Stone, we have Allison Connors,
Krisha Dolan,
Leah Tab, hi Leah,
and Liv Matlin.
And if you would like to support me, and through that support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Lindsey M Dillon. And now, for this week's blessing.
May your next killing load be as dank as today is.
Because it's 420?
Because it's 420.
It's 420.
Yeah, because it's 420.
Blaze it.
Right now. We're on.
All right, yeah.
We do it live.
Yeah, we're doing
it live.
We're amping ourselves up today because we're here earlier than we normally are.
I feel like most pottery podcasts are like, hello guys, how are you? Sponsored by Brent.
Brent!
Yeah, but we're just like,
Yes, all right. So today on the Mud Peddlers,
yes,
we are actually going to be answering a listener question, and it's funny because anytime I get a suggestion of somebody sends me a message or something or writes a comment and it's like, hey, I'd love to hear a topic about this. I screenshot it and then I save it to a folder. And so I was going back through that folder kind of thinking like, okay, like, what do we talk about today?
Yeah.
And I found this comment and I did not realize that it was actually Natalie and Rae of Pouty Pottery.
We met them at Ensika.
Yes.
They're cool as F.
Super cool.
Can I cuss on our podcast?
Don't cuss because then I have to bleep it out.
Then the editor has to. Yeah, no, you're right.
And the editor is me.
Don't want to make that person's job any harder. I do have a temptation to cuss real hard right now, though.
I know. I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel that. But please, for the future me,
That's
please
fair.
do not do that.
Okay.
So anyway, what we're gonna be talking about today is, I guess I will read.
Yeah.
You think it's okay if I read the message?
Yeah, the question's really easy. Honestly, go for it.
All right.
It's a good question.
And it's also from November, so when they say watch the last episode, that was from November. So anyway, just watched the last episode, loved it. Since you mentioned people suggesting topics, I thought I'd pitch you one that I personally really struggle with. I'm a beginner, entirely self-taught potter of 2 years, and I really struggle with being on the wheel for more than 2 hours. I love throwing, but after 2 hours, my creativity juices start to burn out, and I see the results of that in my work. I see other professional potters who will spend entire days on the wheel creating things, and I so envy that. I would love if you and Donte discussed tips and tricks for learning how to throw more pieces in a day, or how to increase your wheel time without draining yourself. Do with this request as you wish. Well, Natalie and Rae,
we're putting it.
We're doing it. All right, so
It's a basketball thing.
Yeah, I don't understand,
balls.
but I support you.
I don't know sports balls.
That's okay. I don't know sport. I know some sports balls.
I know sometimes they make a hole-in-one on the field goal.
Yeah? Is that a thing? No, they don't. No, not a hole-in-one. I know that much, Donte. All right. So, what are some of your initial thoughts about this? Because I have many thoughts.
I honestly have many thoughts too, but mine are more rules that I've learned over time because I feel like I've been through this process as well.
Okay.
Just comparing, it's the Instagram thing where you compare yourself to someone who's ripped and seems like they have an awesome life. And you're I'm just a beginner.
Oh, yeah. And also, by the way, for being quote-unquote beginners in this message, when, they're saying this, they make hella good work.
Yeah, they make good work. Yeah,
really good work. So, they may call themselves beginners, but they are not, they're, very skilled.
Look, to be honest, I met both of you, right? So, the cool thing that I appreciate both of you is that you're creative and you're not just... I meet so many people who are I want to be a ceramic... Not that they're not creative.
No. I was just about to say, I think Donte's going on a rant again.
I promise it's not that bad. I promise. But it's I meet so many people who want to do ceramic artwork, but what they want to do is they want to copy other people's style. They just want to... And I know I harken on this a lot. They just want to make swirly cups and sell them. And they think that's the goal. They think that's the godhead of ceramic artwork. We all
know that Leto Atreides II is the godhead. I'm sorry, I've been listening to the books of Dune.
It's okay.
Carry on.
And if that's your thing for your artistic process and that's what feeds you artistically, that's okay. But do not make a habit of looking at someone else's work and being oh, they're so much better than me. And they're on the wheel for hours and their juices are just creative juice everywhere. You can't constantly compare yourself to other people. You gotta compare to what you were yesterday, improve yourself. Don't worry about them Instagram with pot next to their abs. They're trapping on pottery. Don't worry about it. You can't. You just can't. That's my little piece.
All right. Well, I think, okay, so for me, like, yes, I think the point of not comparing yourself to folks online is always like a solid piece of advice.
It's toxic after a while.
Yeah. I do think there's a couple things that I can think of that have helped me like increase my time on the wheel and just in general, just I guess be more creative on the wheel. And I think the biggest thing is that like, so when I sit down on the wheel, I can throw for like 2-3 hours and just kind of go. But the biggest thing is that when I'm on the wheel, I've already decided what I'm making for that day.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is that like, if you like do the prep work beforehand. So if you're trying to decide like, okay, you know, I want to sit down on the wheel and I want to make a bunch of stuff. I feel like it's better to have that list when you go into it because like, after you're on the wheel for a while, if you're constantly thinking, okay, what am I going to make next? What am I going to make? Like, that's super mentally draining.
Oh, yeah.
But,
But it's like picking out what you're going to wear every 5 minutes. Like, it's like after a while, you're going to run out of ideas for outfits. Yeah.
But even just doing like a little bit of sketching beforehand, because like, what was it? A friend of mine, I have so many friends getting married this year. So anyway, so one of my friends who is getting married this year, I wanted to make them something for their wedding. And they ended up saying like, oh, well, you know, if you could make some vases for us for our like table settings, that would be amazing. I'm like, cool, I got you. And then I sat down, I'm like, wow, I haven't thrown a vase in like a long time.
Yeah. So
what I ended up doing is in my bullet journal, of course. Of course.
In my bullet journal.
You mean Billy Jr. I just sketched out like 10 or 11 different pot designs. And then when I sat down on the wheel, like some of them I had to throw a couple times because, you know, I messed up or whatever.
Right.
But, and it took me, you know, I don't know, maybe like an hour and a half or something to throw those. Cause again, it was a new shape. It just kind of takes longer.
Yeah.
But having that guide already set up when I was like, okay, I'm going to like compartmentalize the mental space of prep time. And then once I actually get on the wheel, I'm not really having to think very hard. I mean, like, I am, but not in the same way that I am when I'm, like, planning stuff out.
I should mention that comes with experience. Like, I feel like a lot of people hearing, like, oh, I already know what I'm going to make when I get on the wheel. That kind of sends them the message of, like, you should plan out what you're going to make on the wheel. But for me personally, that usually came with experience. Like, I know people buy cups, so I know when I need more cups, I got to sit down and make cups. So the time on the wheel for me is not, I wouldn't want to say wasted, because no time is wasted time if you enjoy it. But I don't want to like spend time on the wheel not doing the thing that I want to do. That being said, there's 100%, like honestly, it's like 50% of my time on the wheel is just me going, what would feed me artistically? Like what can I make? It's very rare that I sit down and I go, I need plates. I need bowls.
Oh my god. Cups. See, that's what I do.
I don't do that.
Oh my god. Okay, so tell me why you approach like your wheel time that way.
It doesn't feed me. It does not feed me as an artist. To sit down and to say I am making specifically to sell does not feed me as an artist. Because in my brain, they don't need to be separate, to be fair.
Right.
They don't have to be at all. But in my brain, they're a bit separate in the factor of like, I don't really enjoy making mugs that much. I enjoy making like plates and like big vases and like I like carving, and so I've started to incorporate a lot of my carving into like my bowls and whatnot, and I like testing glazes. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't. When I sit on the wheel, 50% of my time is like, well, what are people gonna buy so I can keep doing this thing that I love?
Okay.
And the other 50% of the time is like I've sold enough. I've sold enough stuff to make a 2-foot vase that'll never see the light of day. No one will ever know I made it. But it feeds me artistically.
Okay.
You know, so I think you can definitely do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I do think that like you should know. Don't think to yourself hearing that sentence like, oh, so I must know what I gotta make on the wheel.
That's you know that's a good point. Like that's just that I have found for me that works with my brain because I also like I find. Like, cause for me, and this kind of goes into like throwing more pieces within a certain amount of time.
Yes.
I find that if I don't plan that stuff out beforehand, I end up wasting a lot of time.
Oh yeah, I'll monologue in my.
Oh yeah.
Talk to myself. And oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And it's just like if I have found that it's just for me. Planning that out beforehand, and it just makes me more efficient in general.
Yes.
And it also doesn't drain that like the creative side because I think like for me, again, like I really like compartmentalizing the creation side and the wheel side. When I sit down on the wheel, especially if it's a shape that I've made before, like I know, okay, I need to make a bunch of steins or, you know, something like that. I love that I get to basically just let like, you know, muscle memory take over.
You can zone out.
And then I listen to podcasts. It's great. It's like I am paying myself to listen to podcasts.
Right.
So, but I really enjoy having that sit down time beforehand where I'm like, and especially if I'm like planning out a new shape, I really like that time beforehand because I may have a vision of what a cup might look like in my head, but I like putting it in my bullet journal because it's like, so I have the, my bullet journal is like it's like the grid style. So I like using that to measure things out.
Right.
So I can go, okay, like these new cups that I'm going to make are going to be, you know, 4 inches tall.
That's smart.
3 inches wide on the internal diameter. And then the foot, you know, is going to end up being, you know, maybe 2.5 inches wide, so that's how much like extra foot space I can. So I like planning all that out. So when I sit down, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do the thing, and then that way I can wedge, you know, 20 through 30 balls of clay, and then I'm just like cranking it out, and that for me is how I do that.
I'll say as a compromise to the way my brain kind of works is that I'll do my production work because it's muscle memory. You know, like you said, it's enjoyable. You listen to a podcast, watch some anime, put the computer up. You know, by the way, if you're in the studio with the computer, make sure the computer is always on a surface that is higher than your work. And thank me later. Like you're gonna think right now, like, no, it's right next to me. Thank me later. As a compromise to that, what I will often do is I will save things on my Instagram profile, or I'll save pictures of stuff that I've done before, or I'll even look at an art magazine, and I will find one thing I like, and I will fixate. Fixate? Fixate. Yeah. Fixate. I will fixate on that one thing. So recently I saw someone who was carving trees, and I was like, I'm not really a fan of flowers and trees, but I do think it would go a long way to put that tool on my belt to get better at carving like leaves in a certain artistic sense. So what I'll do is I'll be like, I'm going to make 3 plates or 3 bowls right now and carve that specific pattern into them. For me, whenever I lose artistic juice, so to speak, what I usually do is I try, we're trying very hard. We're trying very hard. Not to be like, bro, you know who else likes juice?
Carry on.
I find it's a good compromise in between production work and artistic creativity. And if I'm trying to feed both, I find it's a good compromise to just find something that I attach to and try and incorporate that in my style. The general consensus for me is to get better at using certain tools. Tools being like specific art styles or specific skills. So that I can build a better pot house later on, right? So like if I see every skill as a tool on my tool belt, I see a certain type of hammer and I go, ooh, I need to get better at using that hammer. I need to get better at drawing this one thing or sculpting this one thing or carving this one thing. And if I do that, when I decide to be like really like 2-foot vase kind of creative, I might be able to incorporate that into my own style.
Oh, I like that.
And then that kind of sounds like you're just copying people's work, but realistically, no. Trying to copy other people's work, unless you're really trying to take that specific style, I think is a positive thing for beginners.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, that's a positive thing for anybody. Like, I mean, that's kind of one of the fun things about the, what is it, the Imposter Cup Show? I don't know if you see that on Instagram. Yeah. I can't remember the gallery that puts that on, but I mean, I think that's such a fantastic idea because these are all like extremely established, you know, skilled ceramic artists, and yet, you know, when you try and do a different style that's not your own and you try and copy somebody else's work, you really learned a lot from that. It's just like whether or not you sell it outside of, you know, that's all.
Well, most of the time it doesn't turn out like how you think at all. Also,
it
only like whenever I try and copy someone else's technique, it turns out like I tried to make it, but it came out my own way. It almost never comes out exactly how the person made it. Because it's really difficult to produce something that somebody's done thousands of times. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good compromise, is to get another style and go, let me try to incorporate that into my work. That kind of circumvents the like, I need all this artistic juice flowing. I need to be a spring of artistic juice at all times. Like you really don't. You really just need to practice the basics and then try to incorporate a little bit of creativity into those basics. So the day that those artistic juices are just busting everywhere, then you can really bust all over the pot.
Donte!
I don't know why. Oh, sorry.
Oh my god.
Is that slip on your hands, or are you just happy to see
Oh
it?
my god.
Sorry.
It's okay, I'm here for it.
I don't think you have to choose one or the other. Like, I think it's a false dichotomy. Like I'm either making production work or I'm super creative all the time. Those are two ends of the scale that you don't have to subscribe to. You can be in the middle somewhere.
Is there anything that you do like physically to help yourself when you have like a long throwing day? I know you tend to treat your body like but I realize
a piece of equipment that I don't like operating.
Yes,
ever.
And you don't like oiling it. You gotta treat your body like you treat your kiln. Gotta take good care of it.
Oh, I buy another kiln. Can't buy another body. One thing that it took me a very long time to learn to do, and I suppose this would kind of fall in like the self-care aspect, is learning when to step away. Like learning when, like, you know what, I'm not feeling it today. I don't feel good. Don't force it. Yeah. There are times when you can push through based on how you feel, when you're just like, oh, I just really need to do this, and I get it's partially a job. Yeah. But I've learned that if I have free time and creative time, don't force yourself to be creative if you're not in that mental space, because that will very quickly ruin the vibe. Like, very quickly you will just not want to do it all together for a while. And you gotta learn when you're just like, I'm not feeling it. Like, put it down, not feeling it. Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? It's okay to come back.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah. I don't know that necessarily, like, pushing it through is, like, always gonna ruin the vibe. Like, I think it's like, I don't know. It's more, at least, like, for me, what I like to do is, like, push if I can, I mean, again, and ultimately, like, there are some days where I have to push through no matter what, because, like, I have a deadline, and it's like, this is my sole income, right? Yeah. So there are some times where I can push, but it's like, I can only push in short bursts.
Of course, yeah.
If I push for, like, months on end, like, what was it? I think I've mentioned this before, but, like, this is probably 4 or 5 years ago now. I was, like, pushing hard for like 4 or 5 months.
You'll burn the engine out, man.
I was just like, I was literally like, if I have to keep doing this for the rest of my, like, ceramics career, I would rather not have a ceramics career.
It'll kill the vibe, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Long term. But short term, if you push a little, like, sometimes pushing through that barrier, I feel like if you push that barrier a little bit and then you kind of start getting into it, cool, like, solid, but like, it's worth trying to get over that first hurdle.
Yes, yeah, no.
But
I agree. Yeah. I just don't want to send the message, because, like, I agree that it's worth the effort to try and get to the, like, you have to try, and then if you're not into it, step away.
Yes,
but I just don't want to send the message of, like, because people ask me this quite often, where they're like, how do you deal with, like, depression on the wheel? And I can't just be like, just push through it, bro.
Oh yeah, no. That's some toxic shit.
If it's really bad, like, if it's really there and you're not feeling it, then, like, step away. Yeah. But there is a small bit of space where the energy in your mental state is just right, and it's personal and different for everybody, where, like, your artistic juices are flowing, and it would be worth it in the moment to push through if you're in the right headspace.
Yes.
Like, something's there, and you're trying to grab it from the void of your mind, and it's just not coming out, but, like, it's on the tip of your head. Yeah. The tip of your tongue brain.
I love that.
And but I want to make it very clear, like, if you're just down bad, walk away, come back. Don't force it. Because the next time you're there, if that keeps happening, it feeds into this cycle of, like, I'm not good at this. And, like, your depression's not helping the mental process of art. Despite what everybody thinks in, like, the art world versus, like, people who think about artists' world, like, we don't sit on the top of mountains and meditate. We're not, most of us are not, like, tortured souls that our art becomes better because, like, my art becomes better because I suffer. Like, your depression's not gonna make your art cool, bro.
Yeah, take care of yourself. It's
very rare cases.
Yeah, no, it's much better to take care of yourself than it is to push through because you think it's because, again, like you're saying, it's like when you're exhausted, it's like you can see that in your work, and I think, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know it in the time being either, because you make it and you're like, oh, this is basically my work, yeah. And then you wake up and you're like, what the was I thinking?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm just saying, don't force it
Yeah.
if it's not the energy's not right.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like I believe. It sounds like I believe in astrology.
And I think like sometimes too that break doesn't even, you know, like it can be a short break too. Like one of the biggest things that I notice is that when I get like deep into a production cycle, if I don't regularly get up, like it sounds simple, but even just like get up from the wheel and stretch a bit. Like one of the, like, I don't know, our viewers will be able to see this, but our dear listeners will have to pop over to the YouTube
if
to
you're
see
listening
it.
to
But
this,
like,
we have a YouTube channel.
we have a YouTube channel.
And we gestate a lot.
Yeah, gesticulate.
Well,
Gestate is like, we're growing.
no, we gestate a lot.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, but this is like a really simple stretch that you can do. So you're just like, hopefully y'all can see.
Yeah.
And that will just kind of, you know, again, loosen up your wrist. You can also just Google wrist exercises.
Yeah.
Having a back roller is also really good.
A foam roller's tight.
Foam rollers, those things are amazing.
Foam rollers are amazing,
Yeah.
and I didn't believe them until like. So I have a lot of people on my Instagram that come from different professions, and like some of you guys are doctors, some of you guys are like gym goers, and some, you know, there's like 3 of you who are personal trainers. You guys put me on. They put me on. They're like, get a foam roller, bro.
Yeah.
Get a foam roller, and I'm like, no, that sounds weird. Like, get one. I promise you, it's great. They do wonders for your back.
Yeah, yeah, and especially for ceramic artists and potters who are like leaning over on the wheel. It's like, yeah, you gotta.
Potters be like, why does my back hurt? Potters for 8 hours a day. Looking like a shrimp, like. Cruxed over,
yeah.
Quasimodo looking potter.
Yeah, no, for real though. I mean, it's like that's you know, that's a lot of it. It's like you gotta give both your body and mind, you know, a bit of a break.
I hate saying stuff like that, but it becomes more true as I get older.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I think we just don't like some of that terminology because of like how that terminology is packaged.
Yeah,
but it's important. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode, but it's also nice to have a little bit of a lighter topic after like the deep dive of Etsy versus Squarespace last time.
Dude, you should also start taking notes. I know that's a weird thing to say, but the amount of, even me, you ever start like doing glaze experiments, like design experiments, and you're like, I'll remember what these are.
Oh my God. Dude, for me,
don't lie to yourself like
it's
that.
not glazes. For me, it's always dimensions of things. Like,
yeah.
Because I try and get like, you know, like a consistent like liquid capacity for things.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like when I do a new design, like I'm like, oh, like I'll remember that this was like
no, you won't.
2 pounds 4 ounces of clay. No. Like
you won't.
I finally freaking did a better job of recording a new design because I just started working on like plates and bowls again.
Yeah.
And I actually past me had my back and I actually wrote down the amount of clay that I needed, and I'm so glad because I would have completely forgotten.
Just put it like, get a little journal, get a little bullet journal, like a notebook or something. Like Lindsey loves her bullet journal. Lindsey actually turned me on 2 bullet journals. I have 2 now. I have like a sketch journal and a bullet journal.
Yeah.
And just write down like the date and what you look. The amount of people listening to this right now who are like, yeah, I'll do that, and then they won't.
Yeah.
I'll find you.
Even if you have to write it on a Post-it note and like stick it to your wheel.
Yep.
Just like take a note and just because it's
important.
Yeah.
You know what I do is, you know that little swirly Post-it note thing they sell like Office Depot and whatnot?
Oh, yeah.
I have a pen and like that on the bottom right corner of my workbench. And every little test I do now, I write it down and I put it next to the pot for that correlating test.
That's a hella good idea.
And then if it turns out a good test, I will then do it, like put it in my own bigger notebook later.
Yeah.
But like, please start writing them down.
Yeah.
Please start using Glazy. Start like any note taking app. Start writing them down. Don't be the person who I have been for like 10 years. Where I'm like making a glaze in like its specific gravity, 1.34, and I blended it for 10 seconds, and then I dipped it on 3 different layers on porcelain clay and red clay, and then I put it in an oxidation count at cone 6, and I put a 1 hour hold on it, and me, stupid, thinking I will remember all of that.
Oh my God.
And then doing 3 other tests next to it and thinking, like, oh, they're all different, but I'll remember all of them.
Oh yeah, totally.
No, you won't.
No.
You will not.
No. And another big thing that I will do, like, when I write down my notes, because, again, I do less glaze experimentation than you do.
Yeah.
But, like, if I'm working on a new, you know, mug design or vase or whatever it is that I'm making, so I measure how much clay I'm using, the height the width of the rim at the external diameter.
Right.
If it's a rounded shape, I'll also write down like, okay, this is going to be the, widest.
Yeah, the widest point.
The widest point will be, these dimensions. And then I'll also sometimes write down like the estimated liquid capacity. Mm-hmm. So if I'm trying to make something that holds, 16 ounces, I'll write that down and then come back to those notes later and write down, okay, like, no, this held 14 ounces. So, and, even though I threw it, because of course clay shrinks, I threw it and it was 4 inches tall. It shrank down to 3 inches. Yeah. So maybe I'll throw it an additional half an inch taller, so that maybe that can bring it from 14 ounces to 16 ounces.
For that clay body.
For that clay body and for that, because there's so many little things that you can write down that will help you out later, especially if you're trying to go for consistency. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know if this relates as much to Natalie and Rae's question, but because it sounds like they're also interested in like how do you stay creative on the wheel for making a variety of different shapes. Yeah. But having like a catalog that you can go back to of all the different shapes you've worked 100%. On. Super, super helpful.
I have one for my glaze. I have a folder on my computer that says glaze combos. Yeah. And I write down what clay body, what was under, what was on top, and what cone. Mm-hmm. And there's so many times where I'm like, have I tested that glaze? Yeah. Or like, can I mix those two together? Like, what can I do creative with this glaze? The amount of time I have spent and wasted testing a combo that I've already tested before because I didn't keep a catalog of my work is tens of hours.
Yeah. I feel like this is making me want to like make a little like worksheet for people to fill out.
Lindsey trying to help the community.
Well, I'm like, because then you could like stick it, you could like either have your own little notepad, but then you could like, or like stick it, have like a little page you could peel off and then stick in your bullet journal where you could write down all of those. I might need to do that.
I think that's a good idea. I will say if you're a glazer like me, where you test a bunch of glazes more so than you test like shapes like Lindsey does. Glazy kind of has that planned out for you, so you can just go to glazy.org and just create a profile. All the notes and everything are there. But if you're looking for something for designs, I have no idea. Like I don't, other than keeping your own book, I wouldn't know.
Well, does Glazy, can you like, so you like would like take a picture of your own, so you can go back, if you use Glazy, you can like take a picture and like have all the notes that you did with that experiment on it. Okay, that's cool.
And you can do multiple pictures. Mm-hmm. You can upload your own glazes. You can put it on other people. So like if there's one called like khaki red, khaki tomato red, you can then put your pictures on their glaze with your notes and how it came out differently, and have the proof and put the notes.
That's
and like,
cool. That's cool.
It's better than Facebook to me.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's more about community, to be fair. It's very communicative.
Yeah. But if you want to just have your own little bullet journal book and keep all your notes to yourself, that's also totally okay, because frankly with glazes that's probably what I would do anyway. Yeah. But it is also nice to be able to like have the pictures referenced there so you can actually see it.
When you click on your own profile too, it shows all the pictures you've posted, so it kind of catalogs them for you.
Oh, that's cool.
If that makes sense.
Glazy, please sponsor us. No. Glazy, that'd be so freaking cool.
Glazy, I love you. This much.
This much.
Not this much. Damn much. Yeah,
that
much. The last thing that I want to say is you should realize what quality versus quantity is as far as being on the wheel. Like,
yes.
Honestly, I would much rather be really creative and express myself artistically on the wheel for an hour than I would be like, oh, I want to go for 3 hours on the wheel and pump stuff out like other people. Like, I would much rather create 5 cups that feed me artistically than I would make the same mug over and over again for 2 to 3 hours. 100%.
And I'm like, okay, let me plan out those 5 shapes, and I'll make 10 of each of those 5 shapes over the next, 2 days. And that's, because I'm like, I gotta make money, man. Like, I love feeding the artistic soul. And again, we were talking about this a little bit before we had to turn on the camera. But yeah, so I like, because that's, like, yeah.
You gotta do both.
You gotta do both. But also... Well, yeah, no, you gotta do both.
You gotta do both. It's just that I think me and Lindsey, like, if it's 50-50, Lindsey's more like, I gotta do money, dude. And I'm like, I got enough money. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need, like, after a certain amount of money per year, I think I would just be like, eh. Like, people who make, like, $90,000 a year, I'm just like, what do you do? there's no way you need more money unless you just want bigger and better stuff. But like at that point, that's like consumerism and materialism on a level that'll never satisfy your soul. You'll just keep going deeper down the rabbit. Like, I don't know what to do with you.
You collect art and books, and you travel to feed your artistic soul.
I hate traveling.
I could spend $90,000.
I don't like cars. I hate them. They run off gas. They're slow-moving bullets. They slowly ruin the environment. I don't like traveling. I like Sacramento. I'm surrounded by mountains. If we had a fight with another city, we'd win. We're surrounded.
That's true.
Yeah, we're pretty good. They might flood us, but that's all you got. Other cities.
You might flood us, but that's all you got.
We're not, that's all you got.
Oh my God.
I think to try and tie it up, I just don't want... I'm just going to speak directly to you.
Okay.
All right? Am I speaking to both of them or just Natalie?
Just both of them. Also our entire audience.
No, just you guys. Look, don't force the creativity. Forcing creativity will kill creativity really quickly. That's
debatable.
That's debatable, but also like, well, it depends. It's like forcing yourself to work out. Like, you still get benefit from it. It's just, anyway. Like, I just don't want... Here's what I want you guys to do, right? I want you to realize the habits and the day that you've gone through and the type of mental space that you go through, and maybe keep mental track of it so that you know when you feel good on the wheel and when you feel bad on the wheel, right? Your goal is to make the experience of being an artist, I mean, whatever you want, I suppose, but for me, it's to get fed creatively, but I need to be in the right headspace to feed myself creatively. That's not on, like, the hierarchy of needs, right? It's like food, sleep... Shelter, slapping cheeks, and then, like, it's not like creating pottery. Like, that's not at the top of the level.
You just did a me thing. You just totally did a me thing. That's cute. Oh my God. Well, they say that people pick up on each other's habits when they spend time. Right. Oh my God, that makes me so happy. I say you things all the time, so I'm glad that I finally Anyway, sorry.
I just want you to understand that it takes a certain mental space to be like being creative. For most people, is not a natural state of being. Like you kind of have to think about it and then learn how to hone it in your own way. And my only real advice to you is learn the habits and the mental space that you need to be in order to express yourself and have that juice, right? Because if you try and force it, it doesn't really come as easy, and there might be some drawbacks. Like the negatives from looking yourself in the mirror and then going like, oh, I'm not creative today, and then doing that for a week straight gets you into a rut, and that rut kills the creativity. And then like some people just get depressed and they think they're bad at art because they're depressed, or they're depressed because they're bad at art. Like you don't want to get in that headspace where you just let it drag on. You like understand, notice the habits that you need physically and mentally to be in that mental space in order to make yourself feel safe enough and open enough to be in a creative space so you can be creative. That's far easier for me than just sitting down and being like, I gotta be creative. Like, there's steps before that need to be taken care of in order for you to be in that space.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I guess my main summary is, I have two main points. First of all, for just throwing longer on the wheel and just being more, productive when you're on the wheel. Just take breaks physically, take breaks throughout the day. And, that means like doing some stretches, taking 5 minutes to just kind of move around, and that just in terms of taking care of your body, that'll be good. And then the other side of that, for being more creative longer on the wheel, my advice, or at least I'll say what works for me, is doing the creative planning beforehand, so that I'm not, or so that I'm more prepared to make what I want to try and make on the wheel. Yeah. And this last part kind of ties in with what you were just saying about be aware of what you need to do to get yourself in the creative mental space to feel creative. Yes. One of the other just kind of general things that I'll do is I love using Pinterest to keep track of things that inspire me. And we talked about this on an earlier episode, but that's a really that's a really nice way to have a sort of backlog of creative ideas, so that when you actually do sit down to go, okay, I'm gonna be creative, you're not working with a totally blank slate. Like you can go back and look at, okay, like let me look at my mug board on Pinterest, what were the kinds of things that interested me throughout the last, month or so, or week, however long, so that you when you do sit down to be creative, again, you have things to pull from, so that you're not just sitting and going, I
think it's also good to, like, if you have a Pinterest board or something that you take notes on like that, go through it like once every 5 months and see where you are in comparison to what you used to like. Even for me, I'll often go back to my old notes and be like, I know how to do that too well now.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that I'll stop doing it, but my brain goes like, you got that down, move on to something else.
Yeah.
That's pedestrian now.
My favorite thing is going, because I have 2 different Pinterests. One of them.
Of course you do.
One of them. Well, because I'm always terrified that I'll accidentally post some of my fandom stuff to my like professional Pinterest account. But I love looking back through because I'm like, oh, this is when I was into this ship. This is when I was into this ship, and I can track this ship.
I do the same thing.
80% of it.
What you do?
Destio.
80%
of it's Destio.
What you do as an organized guy who likes the more adult side of videos is you make like a little collection. Right? But then, like, after a year or so, you go back and you're like, what was I into?
Oh my god.
You're like, oh, I need to take the bookmark off. I didn't like that at all.
Oh my god.
I'm past that now. I'm a curly-haired man now. I was into blogs?